your understanding that you were required to sign that letter?
I did tell the President in the meeting that I could not sign the letter without having first interrogated the financial and fiscal implications and the proposed funding model, which was in line with my statutory mandate, as well as the recent cabinet decision of ensuring sound management, not only of government's finances, but also those of the institutions governed by the Public Finance Management Act.
Did you get the impression in that meeting that the former president understood or accepted that you had these responsibilities?
Look, it was a very tense meeting. It ended with us just being instructed with the minister to go and find a solution, which we didn't find.
But what did he say in response to you telling him, I have statutory obligations, I can't do this until certain things have been done? Assuming he might not have known before you told him that you were acting in the manner in which you were acting because of legal obligations, now you had told him, did his attitude change in any way towards your conduct?
Look, the manner in which the meeting was concluded meant that the two of us, Minister of Energy and myself, just needed to go out and find a solution so that the President is fully appraised of what response to give to his counterpart. I would say the meeting actually ended in an impasse where we just said, you go and find a solution to the matter.
Thank you.
You refer in paragraph 79 to certain discussions that you had with your counterparts in the Russian ministry. Would you tell the Chair about that exchange, please?
Indeed. Whilst still in Ufa, I asked my counterpart, the Russian finance minister, Mr. Silvanov, and his deputy, Mr. Sergei Shatilov, whether they were aware of this nuclear deal and what exactly our countries were talking about. The deputy minister, who speaks English because the minister does not speak good English, you have to speak through the interpreter, is the one who responded that although they had heard of such discussions, they had no real idea what it was about and were not involved in the discussions. This surprised me because if I were to sign anything that had financial commitments from the Russian government, I would have expected my counterparts not only to be aware, but to play a role.
Had you had any warning from the Ministry of Energy or from the Presidency that you would be requested to sign this letter at the BRICS summit in Russia?
No, I had not been forewarned.
And it is clear that, from your evidence at least, that your Russian counterparts were very much in the same position.
Indeed.
The cooperation agreements that you referred to earlier, they were tabled in Parliament, I understand.
Correct.
And you refer to parliamentary questions that were asked as a result. Would you tell the Chair about those?
Well, we were repeatedly asked through parliamentary questions and the media whether the Treasury was consulted on the financing options for the nuclear build program and its fiscal and financial feasibility prior to these agreements being concluded. Generally, I responded to such questions by indicating that nuclear would be a substantial financial commitment and that government was undertaking a careful and thorough analysis of financing options and considering the costs, benefits, and risks of building additional nuclear power stations to ensure the affordability and long-term sustainability of the fiscus and financial soundness of the state-owned entity, which was tasked with undertaking such a program.
You say in the next paragraph that you knew from Mr. Zuma's treatment as you refer to him, of you in Russia, that he was very unhappy with your refusal to sign the draft letter. Is that perhaps an understatement?
It is correct. It was also confirmed to me in a conversation with the Deputy Minister of Finance, Mr. Mcebisi Jonas, after my return from Russia. I received a call from him about 2 weeks after returning from Russia, and I remember that it was the day of an ANC Lekgotla held towards the end of July 2015. He told me that he had been called to a meeting with Mr. Zuma, in which Mr. Zuma expressed dissatisfaction with me, particularly the stance I took on the nuclear procurement process in UFA, and my refusal to sign the draft letter presented by Ms. Jumat-Petersen. This confirmed what I already knew.
What did you do thereafter?
I'm sorry, Mr. Pretorius. Minister, you might not have picked this up, or you may have picked it up. I just want to make sure you understood. Mr. Pretorius' question that you have just responded to was whether what you say in the first sentence of paragraph 81 is an understatement. You responded by saying this was confirmed, or yes, this was confirmed. I know that you were reading from the second sentence of the paragraph.
Yes.
But I don't know whether you meant to confirm that first sentence is an understatement or not.
Well, understatement in that it's just unhappiness, which could be more than unhappiness. And
okay. No, I just wanted to make sure that you are alert to what the question was saying.
Yes.
So it is an understatement, you say?
It definitely is.
Okay,
well,
thank you.
Perhaps I was being unfair to you, Minister Nene. What was the degree of the former president's dissatisfaction or unhappiness, as you put it?
I think it was more than unhappiness, because as I'm saying that when we say unhappy with my refusal to sign the draft letter, but when what was confirmed to me by the conversation that he had was just to show that it was, I don't know, perhaps it's just the degree of unhappiness.
Was it anger?
I think so.
Thank you, Chair. You may ask leading questions without permission in terms of the rules. I cannot. Minister Nene, on your return to South Africa, what did you do with your fellow Treasury officials in relation to the nuclear deal?
Well, I convened the Director General and a team of relevant senior officials at Treasury and instructed them to establish a joint task team with officials, because the last thing you want to do is to upset your boss and not do anything to remedy that. We put together a team and instructed them to establish this joint task team with officials from the Department of Energy. The joint task team was then to be responsible for undertaking the required detailed technical work and preparing a technical report for submission to Cabinet on the financial implications, funding model, and risk and mitigating strategies related to the proposed 9.6 gigawatts nuclear new build program, as had been instructed by Cabinet.
I'm told that it's almost 1 o'clock. The next topic will take more than a few minutes, and may we therefore adjourn.
We'll take the lunch adjournment and we shall resume at 2 o'clock.
To your rejection of the letter.
Well, she was concerned about what she is now going to present to the President. And I then, because given my refusal to sign, I told her that I don't know what she should say, but I wouldn't sign without seeing and approving the funding model as duly required by Cabinet and without the necessary process being followed for such a big project. She left, and I was not presented with any further version of the letter.
Given your interactions with Minister Jumat-Petersen at that stage, what was your impression of any anxiety that she may have had or any pressure that she might have felt in relation to having to report back your refusal to the former president?
I could see she really wanted to give a positive response to the president, but it was unfortunate that if that response would be carrying financial implications, I was not in a position to assist her.
What were the consequences then of your refusal to sign that letter and the revised letter?
Well, as a result of my refusal to sign the letter, it was clear that I was seen as a person standing in the way of this nuclear deal. I was accused of insubordination, not only by the president, but by some of my colleagues.
Were those words directly used?
Pardon?
The word insubordination, is that a direct quote?